Fastest way to go broke is to go woke. And I don't know why none of these brands have figured it out, but the fastest way to go broke is to go woke. And Jaguar, this is what their new logo is as far as the actual lettering and things like that. And the lettering is, we don't care. I mean, now that you start to look at the lettering and you look at the commercial, it seems a little bit sassy. But Jaguar has apparently a new creative director that's more focused on being sassy and diversity, equity, and inclusion than they are about delivering awesome cars. Now, me myself, I'm really into cars. I own a lot of cars. I've driven a lot of cars. I study them. One of the biggest things that I do in my YouTube algorithm is every single car that I can get my hands on as far as finding, looking at all of that. Even I remember at one point I was even considering starting a car channel. I don't have the capacity to start a car channel. I tried to incentivize somebody to start a car channel. Obviously, that didn't work out because we would be having a car channel right now. But either way, it doesn't really matter. The history of Jaguar, or like other people say, Jaguar, is largely based in the fact that they were once owned and bought by Ford Motor Company, and it was a part of the Premier Automotive Group. It was Jaguar, I believe, Volvo, and a Land Rover. Yep, it was Jaguar, Land Rover, and Volvo. And as a part of what was going on in 2008 and the early 2000s, basically Ford shed it in order to raise money so that they could be able to survive and sustain, in addition to mortgaging the Ford logo and everything. And whereas Chrysler and GM filed for bankruptcy, and then they had to emerge from bankruptcy in order to, basically sustain themselves through the recession and the housing crisis, Ford Motor Company largely was able to survive on their own, courtesy of a really great CEO called Alan Mulally. Well, again, they then sold those brands off, and they became their own entities. Now, I believe that Jaguar was sold to a foreign investor, which was Tata Motors. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, and again, I'm just kind of freestyling right here, but they were sold to Tata Motors, which means that it was no longer owned by an American company. Now, that's similar to what was happening with General Motors. General Motors had all of these sub-brands, including Saturn. Saturn, they killed that. Hummer. They killed the Hummer brand, but they recently brought back the Hummer H2 or the Hummer H3 or whatever it is, a new one that they just brought out, the electric one, which was the foundation and the platforms that they're now using for all of their electric vehicles, because they have a skateboard platform that they're able to build multiple different vehicles off of. And so that's a part of their electrification strategy. But they also killed Saab, and I really love Saab. Like, I wanted to buy a Saab before they killed Saab, but I really like Saab. And then, like I said, there was other brands that were a part of it, but Ford kept Lincoln. They did kill Mercury because it was really a lot of, the same brand. A Ford was rebranded as a Mercury, and it was like the mid-level luxury vehicle before you get to Lincoln. But I think that they did a great job in making sure that they only had two brands that they can dedicate themselves to, because you don't want to be stretched too thin, especially with subpar products. Now, the crown jewel of Ford was always the F-Series, the F-150, and that was the thing that's been carrying them for the entirety of their existence pretty much in our lifetime. But again, let's move over back to Jaguar and Land Rover. So foreign investors separated these brands and they wanted to buy them. And the reason that I took you through that small little history lesson is because I need you to understand that foreign investors don't necessarily understand American culture. Foreign investors don't necessarily understand American culture. And so you would think that somebody in these brands would say, hey, woke is dead. If we did do a woke ad, then we definitely don't want to run that ad, and we don't want to launch it directly after the people voted and they said that they want masculinity back, that they want cars back. They don't even necessarily care for, designating us and going to this EV pathway. But guess what Jaguar did? They decided to launch a DEI ad, and it had to be one of the sassiest ads that I've ever seen in my entire life. And to throw insults on injury, They didn't even put a car in the ad. They didn't put a car in the ad. The entire ad was based off of diversity, equity, and inclusion, going woke, and making sure that they put everybody in there that they can possibly find that didn't even make sense to be there. And this is why you now see this. It's a demasculation, emasculation of men. And all I see in this ad is sassy men and extra women. And so they made sure that they created an ad with all of these colors. They dressed up the people to basically look stupid. And so now you see tone deaf is probably the best way to describe this. All of these brands, all of these people, they have no clue on what people want. They have no pulse. They do not have their finger into the streets. They do not know what people want. And nothing is more evidence than them releasing this ad directly after this recent election. People are tired of brands trying to push an agenda, and the only thing that they want you to do is make good cars. Now, interestingly enough, if you look at Jaguar's portfolio, it is a trash portfolio. They don't even have a great lineup of cars to justify taking this type of risk and risking alienating even more people, pointing out the fact that it's not an American company. They don't have a pulse on culture. They can't compete with all of these other brands. They can't even compete with the foreign brands. Their entire portfolio is tooth and nail. They need to have an injection of capital in order to do so. And instead of them making great vehicles, they've now alienated the entire United States of America and probably Europe too. I don't know how sassy Europe is, but they've alienated the entire United States of America. And you know what the interesting thing about this is that the people that care about woke and diversity, equity, and inclusion is not even a target demographic. You're not going to get sassy people that then say, you know what, let me go and check out a Jaguar to try to figure out if this is what I want to buy for me and my partner, me and my other than, me and my person that him, her, she, they, whoever their pronouns are. That's not even your target customer. Your target customer, as what you're trying to sell as a extremely luxurious brand, and most people are broke, interest rates are high, and so you really got to try to separate and differentiate yourself with great vehicles. Porsche, they do a really good job of that. You know, a lot of high-end manufacturers do a really good job of that. Mercedes does a great job of that. BMW is doing a great job, even though a lot of people don't necessarily like the grills and the design direction of BMW. You know, they have some really great innovative vehicles that have great technology in them. And Jaguar decides that, you know what, we already losing, we already bad, we already got bad quality reviews. Our vehicles are long in tooth, outdated with technology, and the thing that we're going to release is an ad with a new creative director based off of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And you thought that that was going to hit. Well, guess what? The people are absolutely killing it. The only people that I've seen that spoke positively about this ad is the Young Turks, and we already know that they super liberal and sassy. And so, you know, now you're in a position where you got to be held accountable, and that's going to largely come with your sales because people now are voting with their wallets and they're walking away from people that's trying to push an agenda on them instead of pushing great cars. Make a great car, get out of politics, and start focusing on making sure that you invest in your people and invest in your brand and investing in your company and stop investing in diversity, equity, and inclusion. Like I said, go woke, go broke, but they're going to learn that the hard way. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Also, Teach Hanley, 40% off your first order, 20% off for life. And let me know what y'all think inside of the chat about this. Y'all like this diversity, equity, inclusion ad, or do you think that they absolutely fumbled, or do you think that it's not going to affect what their brand is doing anyway? Let me know what y'all think inside of the chat. Also, get your tickets to see me December 14th in Detroit. It's going to be great. Discount code Anton. All of that information is down in the description. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to holler at you later. Peace.